Welcome to Captive Conversations. I am your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of our hospitality leaders, exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together.
Episode 2 of Captive Conversations. Today we had more challenges because I messed around with the buttons on the Roadcaster and I'm not an expert, so I'm really sorry about me saying there's challenges, but actually there wasn't. But new camera, much better quality, no cameras going off, great time. Had LP from RedCat here today, talked all about the technology, how it works, his story, his history, some interesting questions, some really interesting pieces of how their technology works over others, which I found really interesting. The challenges of the UK versus Australia, the challenges of Wi-Fi, and the differences between how we work and how things work in Australia. RedCat is here in the UK. They have some awesome brands. Gongcha is a great brand to look at. It's a bubble tea place actually down the road from my office. So definitely go check them out. And the kiosk and the tech stack. This is episode 2. This is LP. This is me and LP. Have a great one. Have a great listen. Have a great watch. The video will be working fine. We had some weird reverb, which I figured out what the issue was on our side, but the audio recorded beautifully. So, episode 2. This is the podcast. This is the tech challenges I have on a daily basis when I shouldn't have any because I should be understanding how this works. So I'm still new. Bear with me. Enjoy episode 2. Enjoy the podcast. Many more to come. See you guys.
Let's record. I don't know.
You know what RTFM is?
I have no idea what RTFM is.
Read the fucking manual.
Sorry. I don't normally snort. Okay, I'm going to screw it. Okay, fine. Okay. I'm going to do the intro later, so we can go straight in and have a conversation about it. More technology challenges are happening, unfortunately. So I have to give myself a... but this is LP from RedCat, as you can see on his T-shirt. Show everyone your T-shirt.
Doesn't say LP.
No, it doesn't. But, everyone knows who you are. And we're going to start with some basic questions. So welcome to my podcast, your second guest. I know we can hear each other. I'm hoping this records okay. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to fly back from Australia just for this. And we have to get through it. And second episode, more technology challenges because I had muted the headphones and we couldn't figure out why. So
just on one side.
Yeah, on one side. So we start with the questions, the standard questions we're going to ask, which are like,
You're doing intro?
No, I'll do the. I can give you a bit of music. I gave Chris a bit of music, but I will do the intro separately because I get a bit embarrassed of like doing the whole. Hey everyone, welcome to blah 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 blah. So I'll do this for you so you can hear it. So here we go. That's all you get. Sorry.
Okay.
I will do an intro before because I think doing the intro before gives me a process of who we're speaking about, what we're speaking about, and then, teeing people into wanting to listen.
Got it.
Right? So, yeah. Okay, so first question is best burger here or in Australia. But I mean, have you had many burgers here?
Honestly, I have not had a lot of burgers here. So,
okay.
I
on the global scale then? Or, what has been your best burger? We could do it anywhere.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Probably for me, it's probably been in Vancouver, and it's probably been because it's been a lovely burger with some maple bacon. So that's the Canadian in me that just sneaks into burgers and stuff.
Is that when your accent gets a little bit more Canadian?
It becomes more Canadian. I actually have a stronger Canadian accent whilst here in the UK.
Oh.
I don't know why, but I'm very Canadian here.
Yeah.
And then when I'm on the phone back home to Australia, or I'm talking to an Aussie or something, I actually can hear my own accent become more Aussie.
Yeah.
It's quite weird. And then it becomes more Canadian when I'm just talking
to
other people.
So when you get back out of the airport and you speak to your family and stuff, are they like, what language, like, what are you speaking? Like,
I don't know. No, they just, it's universally agreed that I just speak a bit funny. So there's no.
I was trying to think of a Canadian Australian word, like like English and Spanish or Spanglish, but I couldn't think of anything for you. Sorry, but okay. So we spoke earlier, and you've had some challenging restaurants that you've been to, but here, the best restaurants so far that you've visited.
Yeah, so it's interesting what you call best, right? Like, what do you? But I'd probably say the best experience I had. Right?
No. Because hospitality experiences afterwards. So just best restaurant, as in like, you went in, service was pretty good. Service was good. Food was good. It was probably one of the best restaurants you've been to. Because the other question afterwards is best hospitality experience, which I think is teeing in.
I'm putting them together. I'm sorry.
All right.
So
he's ruining my podcast.
I know, but I like rewriting rules. You know that. So I put this to you, right? A challenge that I will put out to, in general, right, is that my experience across the UK and my I'm waiting to get in trouble for saying this, but my experience in general around hospitality service has been a little bit average, right? So I was saying to you before, I just flicked through my diary the last 3 weeks and looked at all the places I'd had lunch, all the places that I had dinner, breakfast, wherever I was. And not a lot were very memorable from a service perspective. The food was fine, but in terms of how was I greeted, did people do some nice stuff like offer me some water or maybe a refill on a drink? Just the basic stuff, pour my wine nicely, whatever it was, right? And I'd have to say, if I was doing a bit of a global ranking, I'd slide it down a bit. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to bring that up. Would be the nice way.
I did say, because we spoke about this a little bit earlier, I did say he didn't take recommendations from me. So you won't get wine poured at Greg's, to be honest with you, but we can definitely work on that.
Maybe that was the problem.
Yeah.
But I will say, if I flick it down to like my best experience, which is where I also had the best service, right?
Yeah.
So if I mix it together, it was at the most surprising place that I would never have guessed, right? So it's a place called Toffs, TOFF', right?
Okay.
Toffs of Muswell Hill, which is it's just been purchased by TCG, which is the Chesterford Group.
Okay.
And why it was probably the most interesting meal I've had in a long time. It's a fish and chip shop.
But is it just a fish and chip shop?
Well, okay, it's been around for, I can't remember how long, but I think it's 100 years. Like It's a long time. Right?
Okay.
And it's been, in the family and all this sort of, like, it's just got tons of history, this place. And you go in and it's a nice sit-down restaurant, right? So you think fish and chips. This is a little bit different. Actually, it's a nice sit-down restaurant. With like an upstairs dining area and everything. It's a pretty full-on.
Okay, so not place. Traditional,
not your traditional walk-in,
newspaper,
stand in a queue, newspaper, bugger off. No, not that place. And what surprised me the most was we had fish and chips, surprisingly, right? As recommended. It was very nice, right? So I very much, especially the fish, very much enjoyed the fish. It was kind of about as perfect as you can get in terms of, you can tell like the oil's perfect, it's not oily. And all the good things, right?
Yeah.
What was really weird though is at the end of the meal, at the end of the main, when we finished the fish and chips, the guys we were with said, "So, listen, we really recommend you have dessert." And I looked at him and I went, "That feels weird. I'm in a fish and chip shop, right?" And he said, the chef and the sous chef specialize in desserts. And again, I went, I thought I was in a fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
And I looked over and realized that in the kitchen, it's chef and sous chef. Like you're talking an actual kitchen, not with cooks, but with chefs.
Not the guy with the white hat.
None of that. It was very, like they were in whites. They were well done. It was good.
Yeah.
So we had dessert and I had perhaps the best tiramisu I've ever had, literally, cooked from scratch by the chef. In a fish and chip shop, so I would I would actually go to this.
I'm gonna go and take a photo because it feels like you're walking into a fish and chip shop because we all know what fish and chip shops look like. I mean, the one where I live is called Golden Place, and OAPs get like half price.
Yeah.
So and the furniture's not changed for the last 30 years. So
we know the place,
right? So. I will follow up with a little video because I'm going to pop in and take a picture just so people are aware what it looks like. But okay, so that sounds amazing. I mean,
that was very cool.
It's about the experience, right?
That was very cool.
Okay, best hotel, because I'm sure you've stayed at a few.
Well, so hotels are interesting because I stay in a lot of different hotels. When I come to London, I'm usually here 2 to 3 weeks, actually 3 to 4 weeks. So that's a different type of place.
Yeah.
And we all know if you've stayed anywhere in London, you pay a lot of money for a very small room, right?
Yeah.
And that will drive you nuts. And you're staying like 20 nights.
Yeah.
So there's a place that I stay in South Kensington, and it's part of a group called Fraser's Suites.
Okay.
And it's not overly expensive, but the rooms that you get actually have a reasonable amount of space, and it's quite nice. So I'd rank that purely, but it's a truly London measure. It's the space that I get that makes me like it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's
the
still,
space
it's still quite nice, right? But it's at least I've stayed in a lot of places in
So
London.
is it
where-
more of a part hotel, so you can you can spend longer?
Yeah, it is. It
Because
is.
Chris likes the other house, right? Now that's his sort of
Yes, it's around the corner from Chris's favorite.
interesting.
Like literally a 6-minute walk. I
Yeah.
think. So he and
So,
I catch
so
up.
if you weren't going to stay for 4 to 6 weeks, and you were to go somewhere just for a week, like I don't know, what's any surprise and delight, or any like places you've been to, been like, oh, actually, I came back and they welcomed me, or blah blah blah.
I can only tell you my favorite chain that I've come
Okay.
across, but they're not big here. But they're my favorite chain that I've hit that I would stay at anywhere in the world is called
Drop it.
Shangri-La.
Oh, Shangri-La is a bit okay.
So if you've been in a
Yeah, okay.
Shangri-La,
You can go to the Shangri-La here in the Shard.
I'm staying in the wrong. Oh, it's in the Shard. I'm staying in the wrong places.
Stay there for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sell my car, but
Let's move on to the best hospitality experience.
I've thrown that at you.
Oh yeah,
already.
you did.
That's fish and chips.
Sorry.
That's
Okay,
fish and
so our last guest was Chris Fletcher from Tech on Toast. Thank you, Chris, for dealing with my technology challenges. We had some today as well. Don't tell anyone. He asks, "What do you think about the Wi-Fi connectivity in the UK?" Because I know we've spoken about that before. And
So yeah. I've got an opinion on this one. But I'll tell you why. So there's this one very notorious thing. Notorious might be the wrong word. There's one issue I've got that I come across unbelievably often when I'm in the UK. And I often joke with you and the other guys and say, I don't know if you've discovered the internet yet, but it's pretty cool. We should get it here, right? So there's a bit of an issue generally, right, with the cell connection, as in just having some data. Sometimes you can often get a phone signal, but if you'd like to, see the internet, any interweb stuff, man, you're lucky if it shows up. Right?
Yeah.
So knowing that's a challenge, even in the middle of London, often nowadays what's happening is you go into a typical restaurant or a QSR or whatever it is, and it's reasonably common to sit down and to have somebody offer a menu that's QR based, right? And what I find a real challenge with that, because I go, okay, I've walked into your shop. Often it might be downstairs, for example, which just compounds the problem by a factor of 100, right? And in a big old brick building or something. So I've walked in. They've, as a restaurant, they've opted to not serve me directly because they've opted to, you need to use the QR code. Well, I don't have any data. So I look at the QR code and I go, challenging. So have a go at it and go, no, I have nothing. So the next thing is, how do I get into I need some Wi-Fi. So that's where it becomes super important.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's where it becomes super important to be able to get on the Wi-Fi really easily. Because in that scenario, right, you as the restaurateur, your server, if you like, starts with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because I've walked in as a consumer. For example, you and I might walk onto a place and go, let's just get a couple of beers, right? And if the only way I can get us a couple of beers is to get on the Wi-Fi,
but
scan a QR code, go through the process, order some beer, we might just go next door. That might be too hard. We might just go to a pub or whatever it is. So I think it's super important, and it's something that needs some work, because some of the onboarding on like some of the Wi-Fi scenarios can be pretty painful. And I reckon the best, you want to get down to as close to one click as you can get, right?
Yeah.
Really close.
I understand that, and I think you're right. I think the customer journey needs to slightly change. If the restaurant's going to know if there's challenges, so a lot of some restaurants are just left it open. Others don't know. Others don't. It's interesting. Over the last 6 months, I've seen a massive change of people wanting to get something in place.
That's good.
Which is nice. I was in Mayfair today. I walked into Hanover Square, and I had no signal. I had 5 bars on my phone. It was amazing, but there was nothing.
data.
I went to the client and I was like, what's going on? Why isn't it working outside? Like, it's ridiculous. I'm in Mayfair, one of the most expensive areas in London. And apparently, I think it's Vodafone because I have O2 as well, and O2 just work beautifully. So, but realistically, it's got to work. So I think you're right. Customer journey, something needs to change. Okay, all right. Okay, enough about Wi-Fi. We talk about that enough all day. Okay, let's do a sharp, short journey. Sharing your journey into the hospitality tech. What sparked your interest, and what led you to where you are with RedCat? Because it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I'll try to give you the short one. My history is operations, right? So grew up in Northern Canada. Family had supermarkets, and so I was, grew up in that world. And by the time I was about, I think 17, I was actually managing supermarkets. Right?
Okay.
Which is pretty weird for a 17-year-old to have, quite a lot of staff and money responsibility and stuff. But that's the sort of stuff that can happen in a family business, right?
Yeah.
Moved out to Australia and was working again in supermarkets at HQ.
And when you moved to Australia, was it just ongoing, or was that more family? Or
was sort of I went backpacking in Europe and met an Australian woman who's
and that was it.
Now my ex-wife.
Okay,
but yes, so that was the trap that was laid by the Australian government apparently. So yes, I went out and eventually worked in Coles supermarkets, right, which is one of the dominant supermarket chains with about 750 supermarkets. I
watch MasterChef Australia.
They are the sponsors. That's good call. Anyway, I worked there and from there started to get into the technology that the retailers would use. And from that moved more into technology service providers. So I worked at places like Fujitsu. I worked at Logica, which is a big UK company. And I worked at...
Logica was massive.
Yes, and Capgemini. So... those sorts of guys doing...
We have something in common because I worked at Capgemini too.
I think I saw that on LinkedIn once and I thought, that's weird.
That's where I started.
So there you go. So, I mean, those guys, all of those in different ways are service providers to... I was basically a specialist in retail and manufacturing.
Yeah.
And in their world, there's no real difference between retail and hospitality, right? Like they sort of blend all that. And that probably started at least a twist towards hospo, as it's called in Oz. And then over a bit of time, I ended up doing some consulting work with the guys at RedCat.
Okay.
And I had been doing a fair bit of hospitality technology work at that point.
Yeah.
And I actually did the rollout. I was the project manager to roll RedCat into Nando's Australia.
Okay.
So at the point they had...
small project then, yeah.
Yeah, well, they had about 280 sites or something.
So you were cracking the whip, basically.
Yeah, well, so Nando's has 3 pillars of power, if you like, right? So it's got the UK, South Africa, and Australia, New Zealand. That's where they make most of their money, from those 3 groups.
Yeah.
And each of them runs surprisingly independently of the other 2.
That's really interesting. Is it all owned by the same?
Yes, same guys, but each one has a very different approach to tech, and it kind of is fit for purpose for that country and that approach or whatever. So they'll probably never be the same. They're all...
I've seen the same for like Pizza Express in like Asia and stuff. It's really interesting how there isn't...
how different it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's very unique.
Yeah.
So the what we were doing is we were shifting Nando's across to RedCat. Yeah. It was about a 6-month project. Probably the most complicated thing I've done in my life. Very interesting. And we did a full-on... transfer of tech.
Yeah. Is that old school tills and blah, 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 blah? Or...
They had, I will tell you, they had these machines. They were running an old version of NCR. And they had these machines that were literally calculators. Like it was just a box.
Yeah.
And part of the process we had to do to run RedCat, there was no hard drive. It actually used a CF card. So here's just dating your brain. So CF cards, remember from cameras?
Yeah.
So we upgraded the CF card to, I think at the time it was either 2 or 4 gigs.
That's compact flash, right? Compact flash.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, that was the biggest you could get at the time. The 4 gigs had just come out. It was very exciting. And on that 4 gig card, we had a version of POS Ready 09, which is Windows XP based, right? and that would run with RedCat on this. Like that was the hard drive.
You know what? Swapping would be easy. My hard drive's broken. Here's another card.
It was pretty weird. Anyway, but these things were unbelievably underpowered and whatever, but they worked. And we could run RedCat on these things. So that was the
okay. So that made
technology.
the project a little bit like, actually we can reuse your hardware.
Absolutely.
Don't worry. The capex is going to be
lowered.
I mean, that's a
it was
no-brainer.
mostly reusing hardware, all the printers and the computer. And back then that was a bit harder. Nowadays the world's become a little more generic.
Yeah.
So you can tend to reuse computers. It's a lot easier, but then it was a little harder. So.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think that being able to do that with that technology.
Just taking a quick break from the podcast to ask a favor, if possible, please like and subscribe. We're very new. It helps us grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now back to the show.
Let's talk about innovations at RedCat.
Yes.
Because you can quickly go through it if you like, but I've seen some of it. Obviously, I've seen the PDF in my mind from the different events I've been to. Is like that circle.
Yes.
What do you call it?
Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
That's just an internal name. It's not really a marketing name.
That's a great name.
It looks like the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, it does. It does. Because you can pick out anything. So you guys do direct integrations. None of this third-party heebie-jeebies. But talk to me about the three pillars or three proper awesome pieces that people don't know about or who wouldn't know about.
Well,
with my reverb echo on this
it's
mic.
weird. It's an interesting question, right? Because you kind of go, well, what are you proud of? What have you done different?
Yeah.
So I would say one would be our relationship with the aggregators, right? So just before COVID, we actually started doing a lot of work with, so in Australia we have Uber Eats, we have DoorDash, which doesn't exist here, right? I'm sure it will be here eventually. But so we have DoorDash. Mm-hmm. We have part of the Just Eat group called Menulog, but so it's Just Eat.
Oh, Menulog, interesting.
Yeah, it's just their local name. And at the time we had Deliveroo, which has now left Australia, but still here. Right? So those are our four sort of partners. So I guess if you said what have we done that's innovative? The first thing we did that was very innovative is we were one of the first systems that integrated into those guys all directly. It was actually unusual. So we were part of the big change, if you like, where everybody went from having a bunch of tablets.
Yeah, like Starship Enterprise.
Yeah. So when the orders come in, there's a noise. You try and figure out. We used to call it whack-a-mole, right? Where you're going, I don't know which tablet it is that has the order on it. You'd find the order, you'd smack it, and then you'd retype it into your point of sale. So we were one of the first guys. Love the camera's dead.
No, but the main one's still going.
Excellent.
So we're all good. GoPro overheated, but we're not using the GoPro.
So we were one of the first to actually do those integrations, and it was really difficult, especially because you were first.
Yeah.
And your reward for being first, right, was once we finished them, they upgraded all the APIs. We had to redo them again. So
this is the challenge, really. When you say I think the benefit you have is the breadth of. I said over here, 100 restaurants is big, but over there, so 500 restaurants is big, right?
So to give you some idea of a customer base, some context. So if you looked at our top customers, right? So if you look at Grilled, for example, so Grilled have about 170. Burger restaurants, and they're a pretty good footprint. They'd probably seat at least, I'd guess, 40 or 50 packs, right? That's sort of or bigger. They're pretty good. You look at Nando's, so we do Nando's Australia and New Zealand. They got 220 sites last time I counted. We've got groups like Gong Cha. So Gong Cha Australia has 100.
So when you say you want to do integration, it's a little bit easier for you than others to go, well, actually, I've got 1,000 restaurants. They all use us.
Yeah. So we've got between 5,000 and 6,000 sites that we, So, and a lot of them are quite big. Yeah. So they're not like a single site. They generally are groups.
Yeah.
Some of the groups have 10, but some of the groups have 200
So the interesting question for people here.
Yeah.
Because Chris mentioned something yesterday about enterprise, and they go to someone, they say, but we're enterprise. And then someone goes to them and says, but we've got 3. Does it work? And they go, yeah, it still works. So you guys aren't really enterprise, but where is the sweet spot? Is it like 5+?
Yeah,
Because you wouldn't see yourself in like a one-person cafe
it's-
running this tech stack.
It becomes a sledgehammer for a small. It actually can become for somebody running a single site. Generally, they're doing a little more effort than they need to do, right? In our world, because they could be running 100 and be the same effort.
Yeah.
So for us, the sweet spot is probably between 5 and 10, somewhere in there. And what I find is that as somebody starts their shop, they use whatever tech makes sense.
Yeah.
As they grow, they start adding complexity, right? And the complexity is in lots of different directions, right?
Yeah.
But from a tech perspective, the complexity is things like maybe a kiosk, maybe click and collect, maybe QR, loyalty across all those things.
But I guess for you, it's simple because then they're like, okay, so we're at this stage now. We want to roll out kiosks. Actually, we plug into kiosks. We want to roll out this. We want direct integration. Actually, the Wheel of Fortune.
We
just
have all
spin
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is that hard? I mean, obviously you have a development team, right? But that must be hard
to manage and maintain.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, there's about 100 people in the business. So that we have about 100 staff, and to give you an idea, we have 3 salespeople.
Wow.
Not including me. Call it 3.5 salespeople, whatever you want to call it. But we have 3 salespeople plus me.
Yeah.
There's some account managers for existing customers, and virtually everybody else is engine room. So there's a lot of people building a lot of tech to try and
keeping it up to date, I guess.
Up to date. Wow. And the thing is, it's never ending. Like, we talked about, say the Uber integration. I think that now I'm guessing about version 4 of that Uber integration, because you keep having to rebuild it as they change things.
And do they tell you? Or is it very much like, we've just had an alert that the API...
Bit of both. Often they tell you.
Yeah.
Now and then they tweak things. Like they'll change an API and they go, oh, we thought we told you. And it's a bit of that.
The integration is included in the platform, right? Or is it an additional bolt-on?
Yeah, no, it's virtually every customer would be integrated.
Yeah, because I think the thing here is that you get an iPad-based system or you get a Windows, and they go, yeah, this is amazing. I love this till system. It's amazing. Yeah. And then they're like, I need to plug in Deliverect or Urban Piper or whatever it might be. And then you're like, oh, my monthly fee's just gone up. Yeah.
So in our world, it all comes from us. We work out with you how we're gonna, charging it, how it'll work. But it's more configuration, right? We're just turning things on.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. The nice thing is everything's coming into the same database too, right? So if you've got Uber orders or something, you'll actually have a single item, and that single, it could be a pizza, whatever it is, and that item will be sold in lots of different ways. So in some systems, you end up with 10 different versions of the item, one for each way you're selling it. Like, here's my Just Eats version, my in-store version.
Yeah, so you can break it down. So there's different cost brackets, right? And so on.
Yeah, and it's got different prices and everything, but you can look at that item and see how it's performed everywhere.
So the one thing that always stays in my head, the one piece of tech that I quite like, that I know about, because I've seen it, not seen it, sorry, but I've heard you talk about it, but I'd like to talk about it here, is that delivery piece. With order the burger gets ordered, there's a delay, or that whole piece of
okay.
I mean, that just no one's really doing it. And some people, maybe some third parties are doing it, but it's interesting, and I think I need to shine a light on it because I find it very interesting.
Well, so if you go back to your question, you said, "What have you done that's cool?" Right?
Yeah, and
I started saying, our delivery stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if I then said to you, because there's an interesting point that people often will look at a company like ours and go, oh, but you've done the integration to Uber, so like, why should there be cost involved? Like, you've done it.
Yeah.
So the work's done. And what they don't understand is that the work keeps going.
Yeah.
Right? But also that there's a lot to that integration. So in a simple world, right? There are those that will do an integration that literally is. And I'm just going to say Uber for the next little while. Yeah. We could use a different company. It doesn't matter. Let's just say it's Uber, though, or Just Eat or whoever, right? So Uber throws an order almost over the wall, and you kind of catch it and go, I got an order. And you inject that into the pause, and that's it.
And off it goes.
Yeah.
Done.
Now, that's the super simplistic version, but that is how some of those integrations are done.
Yes.
We don't do that. So what we do is a couple things. There's a menu integration. So our menu, we build and own the menu, right, within RedCat in a really cool system.
Yeah.
And the menu includes image, price, description, kilojoules or calories.
This is if it's direct, right?
This is for any item in RedCat,
Okay.
right? So it also has allergens, so all the Natasha's Law allergens and categorizations if you want to do things like vegan or vegetarian or whatever you want that's
Yeah.
a type of food that you want people to filter on, right? And the store opening hours and the ordering hours, which are often offset a little bit, quite a little bit different for delivery and stuff. All of that is in your menu, and we publish that everywhere, right? So we
Oh,
push
so you're
that.
doing a sync.
Absolutely. So you're controlling it in RedCat. So if you think of that and you think, okay, so that's how we're approaching this sort of an integration, right? There's a lot to it. So the first step is this. The second step then is you go, okay, well, how do we take an order? What do we do with an order? So a typical order, what it has in that order is this. We'll get a call, not a call isn't like an API call, but we'll get an order from Uber. We take the order, and then there's actually a bunch of discussion, if you like, between the two systems back and forth as to what's going on. What'll happen at that high level is you get an order that comes in from Uber.
Yes.
And Uber says, this is what I'd like to the restaurant, right? They go, I want this burger and whatever it is. And we're going to get a driver there by 12:20.
Yeah.
So we'll have already told Uber that, you know what, this shop right now has a 10-minute make time. Right?
So I don't need to go on my Uber and go, this is my timeline.
No, it's happening. It's already happening. So we'll either send, you can manually put a time in, and like you might say by default it's 10 minutes, and in the shop they can crank it up a bit as if they're busy. Or you can use a dynamic make time. So we'll look at how long it's taking and we'll push it up a little bit automatically. So you're not doing anything. So we've told Uber already, this shop has a 10-minute make time. So Uber looks at that and goes, I can get a driver there. Can't be within 10 minutes because they're not dumb. They know that makes no sense. And they might say in this case, oh, you know what? It's actually 20 minutes that we'll get a driver to you. So they'll tell you 20 minutes we'll have a driver. So what we then do is we take the order, we accept the order, everything's fine. We hold the order in a thing called pending orders. So it sits hidden. And we'll wait until just before the make time. So if we know there's a 10-minute make time, then we'll drop it into the kitchen and say, there's an order coming. It's an Uber order. Here's the order number details. So all through the kitchen, it'll actually be connected in that sense. You know, it's all from the same order. They know it's an Uber order. It has to be packaged appropriately. It goes through the system, gets packed, gets put under heat lamps. It's ready to go. Now, what's really interesting about that
This is the piece I like.
the data that's being collected, right? So we now know order was placed at 12, said they were going to be here at 12:20, dropped into the kitchen at 12:10. We can see every touch point. So all the bump screens that he used, we'll record all those data points so we can see it all put together. And we can see when it was put under the heat lamps because it was bumped off the pass, right?
Yeah. So you know it's sitting there waiting.
So we know it's waiting. So that's a good set of data. The other cool thing we have is Uber actually signs a special agreement with us for this. They actually pass us some extra data about when the driver's coming and some other bits. Those are also in the database. And then the other nice bit that we add is optionally, if you want to do it, right, is that what happens is where the drivers pick up, we'll put a screen there. It's a driver pickup screen. And on that screen, you can filter what you want. But generally, people will put, well, this is say it's Uber or Deliveroo or whoever the driver, like whoever the company is, and it'll show that order, some detail for the driver to recognize the order number. This is up on a screen, and you can put that screen out in the car park, or we QR code it too. So you can even put a QR code up and say to the drivers, don't come in, just scan this QR and you'll see where your order is, right? Which is quite cool. Their order's ready. They come and pick it up. When they pick it up, so that bag has been printed with a bag tag, a QR code on the bag tag. When you pick the bag up as the employee, you scan it, and that knocks it off this.
Where do you scan it? What, from a till?
Bump screen. So we have just a scanner sitting at that pickup area.
Yeah.
They scan it automatically with no touching. It bumps it off that screen.
Nice.
Cool thing is that clears the screen down. Okay, you've picked that up and you hand it to the driver.
Yeah.
Right? But the great part is another data point. So now I know when it was picked up.
Yeah.
And if there's so when I'm talking to Uber about their
Refunds
performance
and everything else,
stuff, I say to them, listen, every time we pick that bag up, we scan it. Like that's the process. So I know that guy showed up at that time, right? So where that's an interesting one for, like, I've got problems.
Yeah.
And then added to that, though, to that system, what we did next was we said, well, you know what? Now we know all the bits about this order and how long it's been under this heat lamp because we bumped it.
Yeah.
And we know that it hasn't been picked up yet. So now we can also send a notification to the kitchen and say that bag, that order's been there too long. It's time to remake it. So we'll
So the driver's
proactively-
delayed by 15 minutes, whatever, right? You know with the timings what's going to happen.
So you'll proactively remake the meal,
Yeah.
whack it under, and then have that one picked up.
Yeah.
Instead of having it delivered, 2 miles
and
away,
cold.
and somebody's on angry,
Yeah.
and you have to figure out how to fix that. Instead, you go, no, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
I'll proactively fix the problem. I'll make sure they get a good meal.
Yeah.
And then you'd say to Uber, listen, here's my data set. This is what happened.
Yeah.
I've got a problem. We need to talk about what we're going to do about the cost of that meal.
And then
it's quite cool.
I remember you talked about, I've heard in the past, so you've got Google, delivered by Google? Is that
Yes.
active?
So in the UK, they've implemented that quite differently.
Yeah, I don't know if it even works. Does it work? Because most restaurants, you click on it, it says restaurant's website or Deliveroo or
It's a bit
Uber.
weird the way they've done it here.
Yeah.
So they're still, honestly, I think they're still bedding it in a little.
Yeah.
What they did first in about 5 other countries, right? And one of them being Oz, is they did this thing which actually surfaced a complete ordering mechanism.
Yeah.
So it's like its own click and collect service.
Yeah.
And we would feed that. So we would send it images,
Yeah.
descriptions, everything. So we would power all that. And it would just magically put it all together for you. It was quite
Yeah.
cool. And that just gave you a new place to order. And you could order to pick up, or you could have it.
Yeah, because you guys have DoorDash Direct, right? I mean, we got
Correct.
Uber Direct here, but I don't know if anyone's
Correct.
using it.
It's
But
just
yeah.
Pizza Express.
Oh, are they? Interesting.
Yeah, it's happening. So the second part of that whole delivery thing that's quite nice. And again, you said, what are you proud of? And the next bit that we went into was we actually said, okay, well, this is great what's happening.
Yeah.
At the time, DoorDash came to us and said they wanted to launch DoorDash Drive, right?
Yeah.
So DoorDash Drive, if you then try to differentiate DoorDash and Uber, both of them, how we just call them Uber and DoorDash.
Yes.
Those are actually marketplace. So it's actually Uber Marketplace, DoorDash Marketplace.
Oh, okay.
And all that means is it's the one that the consumer picks their phone up and goes, I'm going to order some food.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I say that is if you then go to Uber, instead of Uber Marketplace, you go to Uber Direct.
Yeah.
Instead of DoorDash Marketplace, you go to DoorDash Drive.
Yeah.
Right? And just FYI, Just Eat has a new product. Instead of Just Eat Marketplace, they have Just Eat Go.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about the marketplace
these
is just a generic app.
Yeah,
And the other
correct.
piece is the integration.
They're all white
piece.
label delivery.
Yeah.
So it's worth talking about.
Because people here use Stewart and others, and then
It's like
last mile.
Stewart.
So these pieces basically what it is that you have lots more last mile opportunities to plug into.
Yes. So it's good to know because in the UK, I find in general, there's a bit of an education piece. Not a lot of people fully understand the white label thing. Like,
No.
how do I use that, right? So what it really is this. If you think about it from Uber's perspective or Just Eats or whoever, right? From their perspective, what they say is this. And again, this is their view. Their view is you have a restaurant. They say, listen, mate, we'll do all the work. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do all the marketing. I will get an order for some food. It'll be your food. That's great because you do burgers, whatever. I'm going to do all the work, though. I'm going to get the order. I'm going to get the money.
Yeah.
I'll send a guy over. All I need you to do is have the food ready. I'll pick up the food. I'll deliver it. So really, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to own the customer. It's my customer.
Yeah.
But it'd be great that you can participate by supplying some food, right? That's kind of their view.
Yeah.
And for the privilege, they're going to charge you, give or take, 30%.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
So what they do in this, if you flick it around and
Yeah.
you go to this third party, like this white label delivery. So in white label delivery, it's the other way. As the restaurant, right? What you're saying is listen, I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to do the marketing. I will find the customer, right? I'll get them on my app or maybe Google or website. So I'll get the order. Once I've got the order, I will cook the food, get it all ready. All I need you to do, Mr. Uber / Just Eat / DoorDash, I just need you to send a driver to pick it up and deliver it.
Yeah.
So you put in the shoe on the other foot, right? Like you're literally flicking the whole deal around.
But it's not just a case of that, is it? Because it's got to be plugged into something that understands it and works, right?
So in our world, though, it's just the good thing is for us, it's configuration.
Your wheel of fortune is just we'll just turn it on.
So, no, quite literally. So if I get a customer who goes, but I'd really like to use this, I say to them, okay, well, as long as you have to have an avenue, right? So the avenue is either click and collect.
Yeah.
But it's not really, see, this is where the click and collect name breaks down a little bit because it's not click and collect. It's online ordering, really,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I got to have online ordering because I want to
Yeah, that
deliver it.
feature, right.
So I don't really want to collect it. But anyway, so I want to have some sort of online ordering. We can use Google as a way in,
Yeah.
or you can have it in an app, which we'll supply to. Right?
Yeah.
So, but which a lot of places apps don't make sense. That's okay.
Yeah.
It still works really well in you can use a QR concept too.
Yeah,
so you can
online,
have
right?
Yeah, you can have online ordering or QR based online ordering, and maybe Google, and so you'll get this order. So what happens for us is if you said, "Oh yeah, I like that idea," I literally just get the team to configure it. So they go, "Okay, we'll turn that on."
So
bang,
the benefit,
bang, bang.
the benefit you really
Done.
have is that you own that customer, which is what everyone's talking about.
Yeah,
That customer ownership is super hard.
So in this world, right, if you now are shifting people into a direct relationship, right? We're talking about Uber for the minute, but into a white label delivery perspective, you're changing the whole game.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of reasons, right? From a customer perspective or a consumer perspective, in their mind, you're delivering the food.
Yeah.
Now,
It's like back in the day, it's like Chinese restaurants,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And pizza
exactly.
places. It's basically rocking it back to you sort of having your own delivery driver, right?
correct. And the great part is, what we've taught the consumer, right, in the last few years is you don't care who's delivering it. As long as somebody's bringing it,
Yeah.
you're in a happy place, right?
Yeah.
So don't worry too much about that. Like it's okay that it's coming by Uber or DoorDash or whoever, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
So the good part is, as the restaurant owner, the restaurateur, I actually now own that customer. I can use loyalty. I can market to that customer. So, for example, I can give a coupon that goes, this coupon is only valid for home delivery.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and because it's my customer.
So I'm going to weigh in. This is awesome because owning the customer is a challenge. The cost of everything has gone up, right? So
Yeah.
if there's a way of saving the money, and because everyone tries to put a little card in saying order direct, but it doesn't never the same, right? So you've got separate click and collect.
Yeah.
You've got separate delivery platforms. Some aren't together. Some are, some people. Some of our clients use one for the delivery last mile delivery. They use one for click and collect, and it's all a mixed bag. So I think that it's a really good point to talk about. I think owning the customer is a challenge.
Yeah.
But then it tees into CRM. So the last podcast, Chris was saying, I asked him, what's your tech stack? What would you do? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I have an interesting question. What would you go first, CRM or POS? Because it's the customer journey as well.
Yeah.
And the loyalty piece is part of the CRM as well, right?
Do you know what I would honestly say to you? I'd say I think you're a little crazy if you tried to make either one of those choices without the other part in mind.
Yeah. Obviously, they've both got to be in mind, 100%. But it's the same thing. You're right. I guess if you go POS and don't think about the customer journey,
What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
And the same the other way.
Yeah.
Like, because if you can't have a tech stack that works,
Yeah.
you
it's a recipe for
you're
disaster,
planning to
right?
fail, right? Yeah, exactly. You're literally going, oh, I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
And as you're kind of saying, that's crazy to
But you
go,
guys don't. So you guys have the loyalty piece, but then you plug into CRMs as well.
Yeah. So what we do is we have what we call a loyalty engine.
Yeah.
And what that means is you go into it and we do it with you, right? So we set it up with you.
Yeah.
And you define what loyalty was to you.
Okay.
And then we configure it to support that. So to
Okay.
give you an idea, that could be, I want to earn and burn points.
Yeah,
That's
points. I get
I
it.
could
Yeah.
do- so
Yeah,
I can do earn-
monetary value, whatever it might be.
Yeah, earn and burn points. I
Yeah.
can do earn points, and when I hit a certain level, I'll automatically convert it to pounds.
So going back to Oz.
Yeah.
What's that? What are like Nando's? If I take Nando's as an example.
Yep. So Nando's is an earn and burn points.
Yeah. And is it their own platform plugged into yours, or is it your
So
platform?
it's RedCat Loyalty.
Okay, so it's yours.
In their case, we feed the data up into a CRM.
Okay, fine.
They manipulate it, and then
Yeah.
they tell us what they want to do. So they'll tell us,
Okay,
I need a
push
coupon.
and
Like
pull.
by APIs, they'll
Yeah,
go
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I need a coupon for this particular person that gives them 10% off on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 6.
Yeah, okay.
That sort of stuff. We say, sure. And it gets built by an API and sent out to that customer. So the CRM solution is going to be used to view and manipulate the data,
Yeah.
and determine what you'd like to do, and then we
Because
deliver
CRM's my
them.
bag. Guys, I love a bit of CRM. Loyalty wise, obviously you have your own engine.
Yeah.
But is there a specific third parties that you're already plugged into?
Yeah. So probably our most prolific customer partner,
Yeah.
prolific partner would probably be Impact Data with
Okay.
TalkBox, right?
Yeah.
So they do a lot of work with a lot of
David.
different. Yes, David.
I
Brooks.
saw Loki this week.
So they do, yes. So they do like probably, I don't know, at least 25 of our customers, I'd say.
Okay.
We have customers that use Salesforce.
Yeah.
We have customers that use Braze. So
Okay.
Braze is, if you're into marketing, Braze is pretty cool. Like it's a marketing, a lot of fun there. But
Yeah.
those are for bigger customers generally.
Yeah.
And some other ones that are smaller, like down to a MailChimp sort
Yeah.
of concept. So it's
you've got
horses
a
for
range.
courses, right?
Yeah.
I was just taking you back for half a sec though on that white label delivery because we haven't got to why you'd care. One, you own the customer.
Yes.
The commercials are pretty interesting because what happens is it tends to change. You know, we said it's 30% roughly.
Yeah.
So if you took, I always do 100.
Because I guess you're saying because you're doing all the work, right? So if the restaurant's doing the
so
work, then
it's-
theoretically the
you
price goes
should-
down.
yeah. So if you look at this, if you looked at the 30% thing,
Yeah.
let's say you took a £100 order. That's a pretty big order, but
Yeah.
take a £100 order. The math's easy. That's what we're doing. Take a £100 order,
yeah.
and you do it through Uber Marketplace. You're going to pay around about £30 roughly.
Yeah.
That's a fee, right? Just give or take. In the white label scenario, you got to get the order.
Yeah.
Let's say that costs you, including credit card fees and maybe your online ordering fees. Whatever. Let's say it costs you 5%.
Yeah.
Because life's easy. So that's about £5.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of that is I've got to pay, Uber's going to come pick it up and deliver it. That's going to cost me, give or take, let's call it between £5 and £7, right? So let's go to 7. We'll make it expensive. So now we're at somewhere around £12 that I've spent, right?
Yeah. Massive difference.
Now, here's the other bit. If you have a consumer who orders on Uber or the other apps, right? They're going to pay a delivery fee. And in the new world,
Yeah.
those guys all very creatively separated into a service fee and a delivery fee, right?
Yeah.
So what would you pay here? I'm guessing it's probably £3 to deliver and
Yeah.
£2 service, give or take, right?
Yeah.
So let's call it £5 in there. So in the RedCat platform, we allow you to charge the consumer a delivery fee, and we base that on like polygons of as in delivery areas.
Yeah.
And then a service fee. If you want to cut it up that way, yep, you can do it. So let's just say you do the same £5. So the consumer was going to give that to Uber.
Yeah.
You tell the consumer, we'd like to take that money. And generally the consumer goes, yeah, fair call. It's the same money as
They don't
Uber
have
is
it.
charging me.
Yeah.
So I'll give you £5. So now remember I said it was £5
Yeah.
to get the order, £7 to deliver.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting £5 back,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm down to £7. So now I've got, for that £100 order,
Yeah.
it's costing me, give or take, around about £7
That's crazy.
versus 30.
That's crazy.
So very interesting difference. So I can afford to, for example, lower my prices a bit. If I can say, so if you're going to order it from Uber, I'm going to charge you this much.
Yes.
If you order it on my delivery platform,
Yeah.
so you order direct from Nando's, whatever.
But do you
I'll
think
charge you
that
a little
there'll
bit less.
be if like tier like Uber rush prices and stuff like that? Like, do you think that when Uber gets really busy,
Yeah.
who gets preference?
That's a whole different discussion with them. Yeah, I agree. So
Right.
I will say one other thing. In our world,
Yeah.
we never become the middleman. We only do the tech.
Yes.
So we get all of our customers.
But you guys can
to-
throw in 5 different delivery partners.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
so I'll
leverage
go to the
that.
next level. So first of all, is you as the restaurant, you need to have your a contract direct with Uber, direct
Yes.
with
Yeah.
DoorDash, direct with Just. So we don't broker it in the
involved.
middle or anything.
Yeah.
Now the next thing though, you're right. So we did that. We set it all up,
Yeah.
and we were very proud of ourselves and said
Yeah.
this is amazing. And so to give you an idea, we deliver just in this white label delivery bit, we do over 100,000 orders a month,
Yeah.
which is a reasonable number, right? Of little people running around picking
Poor
up
Uber.
stuff. So the next step then is if you've got 2 delivery partners, right? So this is an Aussie story because today we're using Uber Direct here,
Yeah.
right? But if you went in Australia right now, Uber Direct and DoorDash Drive.
Yes.
So here it could be maybe Uber Direct, Just Eat Go, and maybe even Stewart or whatever, right? But so for today, we're talking about Uber and DoorDash in Australia. So what we do is this, and this is in hundreds of shops right now. This is the
Yeah.
way it works. It's this thing that we call the delivery optimizer, right? And we like the delivery optimizer because it's a bit
good
of fun.
name.
It's a bit of fun. So what happens is, you tell me, let's say you're Nando's. For every one of your restaurants, you tell me who's your primary delivery partner.
Yeah.
And you can choose. And I don't care if they're all the same, different.
Yeah.
And regionally, in different areas might make more sense. Like, Deliveroo
you
might be
find that
stronger
those drivers
in a
are
certain
better
area.
than the other, whatever, right? It's preference.
Especially in certain areas, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say for this particular shop, you've said Uber is my primary delivery partner.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have DoorDash as my fallback. So what we do is when we get an order, we go and we say to Uber, hey, we got an order, come grab it.
Yeah.
If Uber either fails to respond
Yeah.
or says, actually, I don't have any drivers.
Yeah.
Or a little bit weird, but happens is because of the way maps work, sometimes there'll be like a little part of a street or something that Uber goes, I don't deliver there.
Yeah.
Randomly, just a map error almost, right? So they go, I don't deliver there. So if any of those things happen, we will automatically go to DoorDash and say, I have a parcel, I need you to deliver it. And they'll send a person.
Can I ask a question? Because as a consumer who does ordering, what happens? This is just what happens if the driver accepts the order but does nothing for like 20 minutes?
Well, again, that's a whole problem that you've got that as the restaurant, you take that up with Uber or wherever.
Of course, I'm just saying that it's a technical issue as well because realistically they've accepted the order, but they're actually just either doing nothing or I'm going to take this and wait for my other delivery.
But they'll do something else. Yeah. All those things.
I wish there was something.
So that's a hard
Uber,
one.
have a listen.
That's a hard thing, and that's something that you need to work with them to say, guys.
Of course,
this is happening and it's a problem.
So basically, you're now allowed to split across. You could have 7 delivery partners. You can have your own delivery people.
And we'll just hybrid it all together, right? And optimize who's picking it up. The other thing we can do is we can actually, if you want, and especially people use it in country areas or quieter areas or places that are difficult to get delivery. We'll actually instead of going primary, secondary, we actually can set it to say who's the fastest. Who's got a driver available more quickly? Yeah, and then it'll go to that one. And so, is
that on trend or is that because you're checking what's around?
It happens like every time we say when can you get the driver? We get the 2 answers and we say and we choose that one.
Okay, I get it.
So
God,
we
this
do that.
literally sounds like a little guy in an office going,
like
oh my god, drivers.
What do I do?
Like, tech.
We can also do the cheapest of the two using your contract, right? So it'll go with your contract and say, with your contract, which ones would be cheaper? I actually don't have any customers who consistently use that. They play with it now and then, but really the faster delivery is more important to them.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting approach,
it's
right?
So much it's just a lot. So leading on to my next question,
it is quite it's very technical. And I'll say one more thing.
But the wheel of fortune is like so much. Like so, it leads on to my next question, which is UK last year. Look, came here to the UK. You've got you have contracts here. You have client here already because of the breadth of customers you have. Yep. Does the Wheel of Fortune scare the shit out of restaurants? Like if you go to a client and you show them the thingy and they look at it and go, hold on, my brain needs to ingest the 19 million things that you actually do.
Yeah. So
and then also operators and how, I mean, this you are obviously speaking to people here, obviously, and meeting people here, and then obviously Mark's here, which is amazing, and his team. But how are you finding it? Because I have other people we work with, not from the UK, and they're like, you guys are just like, we have these conversations, and I feel it here as well sometimes. Is it very different here? This like the process that you found, like meeting, having a conversation, they love it, and then hold on, I need to.
Crickets.
Sorry,
crickets. Okay, so a couple things. One, it's very different for us here because we're quite dominant in Australia.
Yes.
So it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to in Australia has been to a Grilled or a Nando's or all the different customers, right?
Yeah,
they know us. So it's quite different. Here, there's a lot of conversation that goes, oh, okay, I haven't heard about you guys. And it takes them a while to go, okay, there's some credibility. We get it. We understand what you do, right? So there's that level. Mm-hmm. The second thing that is challenging in our particular business is that it takes the typical potential customer a while to come around to going, oh, so you really do everything, like that, because there's a little bit of like, and then once they get to that, they get to a little bit of like, oh, that's a lot of decision.
Yeah.
But having said that, right, almost all of them have a big problem. and they're looking at like part of the fix, but they've got a holistic
so looking at
problem.
Wheel of Fortune, they're spinning and stuff. And go, that there can fix exactly what I need.
Yes, today this hurts me, right? And you're going, but every day all of this hurts you. And you're actually
but today I'm only focused on that.
So there's a little bit of that. Right?
Yeah.
And to be very open, that our solution is what I call gentle open heart surgery, right? So we go, we love you. We're going to have to get rid of these 5 systems you're using and we'll replace them.
Yeah.
One thing I've done, though, that's helped a lot, we've basically said, one of the problems is this whole conversation. This is too hard and everybody struggles, and what do?
Yeah.
So I had to figure out how to give them context, because context is super important in any problem you have, right? Even if you don't know that you need context, you actually need some context. So what we do now is I spend about 2 minutes talking to people before I get deep and before I show them the Wheel of Fortune. I say, can I just talk to you a little bit about the fractured tech stack? And they go, sure. Like, what do you want to talk about? And what I
do you
show
want
them
from me?
what I show them is I show them this. I'll try and give it to you really quick. Fractured tech stacks. What that means is anybody virtually, and this is true in almost 100% of cases, right?
Yeah.
Almost everybody who has set up a restaurant or a shop and then has 2 and then 3, then 4, then 5. And as they've grown it, they've added all these different functionality bits, right?
I've got a great idea. Let's plug this in.
As they've added it in, right? At some point, eventually ends up with spaghetti. They have a mess, right? And they manage that as best they can. But the challenges that come up out of the mess, right, are things like I now have way too many vendors that I'm talking to, and everybody's blaming each other and all that sort of stuff. I often have problems that they're not very well integrated together, so they talk to each other, but
really
not great. They just give, like I said before, where they throw the order over the fence. There's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then your data sets are all fractured like crazy. Like your data's everywhere. So if you go, well, how much? I've actually sat with quite a few potential customers, not RedCat customers, and talked to them about their data.
Yeah.
And they'll actually pull out of their point of sale. They'll say, well, here's all my data of what I sold. But here's all the stuff I sold in Uber. Here's all my Just Eat stuff, and here's my Deliveroo.
Yeah.
So what we do is we add that up, and then we add in our click and collect stuff, and that's how we know our sales. And I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
So it's really hard, right? And managing, like, one of the things that comes out of that, how do I manage the menu we talked about before?
Yeah.
If it's not central, I'm going to manage it in 10
to be
places.
fair, I mean,
right?
I have spoken to people in the past where they're like they'll call the boys in the office. They'll be like, none of our orders are working. We have DeliverAct, and it's integrated. And then the till system guy goes, did they make a menu change? And I'm like, I don't know. And he asked them, yeah, we changed the whole menu this morning.
Yeah.
Did you push it to wherever it needs to go? To like I don't know what it was. I think it was through DeliverAct.
Have you managed it?
Yeah, have you managed it? And they went, what do you mean?
What does that mean?
I've not done that before. And then orders weren't coming in and everyone's going crazy.
Yes. So again, this is back to this fractured tech stack, right? It's like, what kind of mess have you created, and how do you manage it?
Yeah. What monster have you built, basically?
So if you said, okay, so that's this fractured tech stack, and that's exactly these are the
But surely
repercussions.
someone would be going, give me your hand, let me bite out your hand off right now.
Well, so what the next part of this context is, right, is that there's actually 3 ways to solve this problem, right? And all of them can work. Any one of them can work, but you just need to figure out which one you want to do. And the reason this is important is because without the context, you actually don't realize that those are different.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. So reason one is you go out and you buy some middleware and you take responsibility for connecting everything to it.
Yeah.
Now, usually those are very large organizations. That's McDonald's, Subway, whatever, right? And what they do is, and Nando's UK does that. So they go, okay, we've got a point of sale system, we've got a click and collect system, we've got a loyalty, they've got all these things. They connect it themselves, but they take responsibility. Okay, challenging because it's a lot of effort. It's never ending. Like they do it and they go, oh, we've got it all connected. And then they go, oh, hang on, now we want to have white label delivery. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody's changed some APIs. And also they'll struggle.
And they've got to self-manage everything.
And they'll struggle with like things like getting Uber to push the orders in directly. Uber's going to go, I don't really want to work with you. Like you're just a one shop, right? Or one group.
Yeah.
Potentially. Not if you're McDonald's, but if you're somebody else, right? So That's an interesting one. And the reason the context is super important is when you're talking to like a board and the board goes, yeah, but this looks pretty easy. Why don't we just do what Subway does? You can say, oh, well, you need to understand. Like Nando's in the UK, Nando's, for example, has more developers than I do. Just Nando's UK, right? It doesn't do Nando's in any other country. They have like more than 100 people on more. Like they have a lot, right? So when you look at that, you go, okay, so that's an approach.
Yeah.
But you have to decide if you're a food company or a tech company.
What's the deal with just like, the CEO in Australia coming over going, dude, just use my mate.
Yeah, well, Nando's in Australia has, I think, 4 people in its tech team.
Yeah.
Versus like lots. Anyway, so it gives you an idea.
You could save them a fortune.
That's a whole nother conversation. So that's version 1, right?
Yeah.
Version 1 is piece of middleware.
Yeah.
Version 2 is you get all the vendors to basically you ask them nicely to work together. So it can be a little bit like running a kindergarten or herding cats, right? There's stuff going everywhere. But what you'd really, and this is the most common one. That's when you go, hey, listen, I really like your stuff.
Yeah.
I want you to integrate into this point of sale system I'm using. And you go, oh, yeah, actually, we can do that. That's not a problem. And then you go, and imagine where it gets complicated is you go, that's excellent. Now, listen, let's say you're a loyalty provider.
Yeah.
So you've integrated in, and I go, oh, good. Now I've got my loyalty working in my point of sale. And then you go, okay, now I'm going to go find my favorite kiosk company. And you go and you find your favorite kiosk company. And it's this one here. And you go, oh, that's great. I got this kiosk company. So that's good. And you say, this kiosk company, can you integrate it into this point of sale system? Yeah, we'll do that for you. We would love to.
Yeah.
Now I've got that. Where it gets really complex is you say now to the loyalty company, I'd like you to do a special integration that works through this particular pause to this particular kiosk company.
Yeah.
Because remember, if you change any of those, it's a different integration.
Yeah.
So the permutations are pretty phenomenal. So usually that loyalty company will go, I'll do it to the pause, but not to the kiosk.
Yeah. We do kiosks. We do kiosks. You
Yeah,
can use my kiosk.
Yeah, or use my kiosk.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you start to...
Then you've got the mobile app developer who says, actually, we'll plug into the POS, but we're not plug into your kiosk. So no scanning of loyalty.
Correct. And I'm going to do the credit card stuff myself because I make a bit of money off of that and all those things. Right? So this is this ask everybody to work together. That's also quite common. Yeah. And a lot of our competitors use that as their model, right? Where you're plugging lots of stuff in. And then
okay, so I need to interrupt you. I am a big believer in plugging in like some really good stuff. Like I know that Peckish are now plugged into RedCat, right?
Yes.
Which is an awesome stock control. You do stock control, so there's no issues.
No, we
with
use Peckish instead.
So you do stock control, but I'm saying for me, I'm a big fan of plugging in best of class stuff.
Yes.
So if there's a one-shot pool and it's listen, your platform's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I've seen the kiosk. I've seen the till system. It's really good. But the challenge sometimes I have is that someone says they do it all. Yeah. And it's not. That's where you get people here going, I want this, I want that, I want this, because the guy that says I can do it all can't do it all. So that's probably you probably end up getting here someone coming to you.
So version 3, just to finish our context.
Go on.
So 1 is I buy middleware. 2 is I ask everybody to play together nicely.
Yeah.
3 is I go for a platform.
Yeah.
So the platform. The reason I go platform is that I've got one throat to choke.
Yes.
That's the pro.
Bless you.
And life gets so my life should be easier. But the con is that I could be constrained on who I can use because they got to be integrated into the platform. And I've got to make sure it's the right partner, because if that whoever makes that platform, if I can't trust them, because it's almost a marriage, not a partnership. I have to really be able to trust them. They have to have similar customers to me. So, for example, if I do, I don't know, if I make it up, and if I said I did stadiums, and I came to this platform provider and they didn't do any stadiums, probably I shouldn't talk. Like that's probably wrong. Yeah. So you've got to make sure they have similar customers to me. Yeah. And you want to make sure they've got really good support, all that sort of stuff, because now you're going to one place, right? Yes. So it's got to be a good place that you're going to. Yeah. So now if I've got those 3, right, now you choose one. And I'll say to you again, all 3 of those can succeed, but understanding the difference helps you to make your decision, because you go, oh, you're not, if I'm comparing stuff in the middle one, which is the get everybody to work together versus say RedCat, like for a platform, it's good to understand that those are completely different approaches. Like I'm not really mixing those. I'm going, oh no, that's a different type of approach. Yeah. So I go back to what you said around you're a big fan of plugging stuff in. So what we do in our platform, like our version of the platform, is we say we'll manage basically the customer facing stuff.
Yeah.
We do the kitchen also, but we manage the customer facing stuff. But we still plug in best of breed for payroll, rostering, and finance and stuff. But I would challenge you that if you, from my perspective, which is very one-eyed, I'll give you that. From my perspective, I'd challenge you and say, but if you're going to assemble everything and try and get truly best of breed, that's okay.
Yeah.
But the downside is you've got to suffer with some crappy integrations.
Yeah, true. And back to your point of, I want to do now loyalty. What do I do?
And I have yet to see, I can hand on heart say, I have yet to see loyalty truly work well in any of those middle systems. And you can relate to this easily. All I have to say to you is, and I'll say to everybody who's watching, have you ever purchased a gift card from any retailer?
Yeah.
And then had that retailer say, this gift card is good online, but you can't use it in the shop.
No. If a retailer's like, where, right?
Or they go, this will work in this shop, but not online. They can only work in one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you walk to the kiosk for the front and just print out money and then give me the voucher?
Yeah, all that stuff. So like the odds of you being able to use just a simple gift card, which is loyalty, right?
Yeah.
The quick and simple test, get a gift card and use it in every way that you're allowed to.
Omni-channel.
A truly omni-channel experience. Yeah. If you can take that to the kiosk and use it online in their app.
So research for me, find something that works omni-channel.
Find one.
Other than RedCat.
That's not RedCat, and we'll talk. So my customers they can turn on whatever they want. So a gift card. Yeah. We do the gift cards. Yeah. They're fully integrated and they work everywhere.
Do you like the physical stuff as well?
You can have a physical gift card, or it can be in your wallet on the iPhones and stuff.
Nice. So then, if you've got the gift card in the wallet version, is there an option to start doing geolocate and?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can.
So where does it stop on what can be done? Because then, like plugging into CRM wise, it's a challenge. So you've got the gift card there, but you sort of want to. Yeah, I guess you've got an API. So you have the plugin, the API's there.
I see your brain exploding. Yeah, it's true. Like,
I'm like,
but I honestly think the challenge in tech, especially as you're building this out, is to keep enabling it.
Yes.
And actually to work with the customer to actually discover what they can do.
Yeah.
I'll give you a really good example. Everybody under the age of, I don't know, probably at least 30, maybe even 40, maybe older, when they load an app on, they just about always go, no, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge for everybody is that we want to market to these people, and you go, we'll send them a push notification, and you realize, well, it's off. And actually, they don't even have geolocation on anyway. So hell, I can't do much, right? So an interesting one, if you put, so in our world, we have lots of people that have apps.
Yes.
But we also support Google and Apple wallets, right? So you can have a version of the card in the wallet. A good one, actually, if you look at, for everybody who's listening who are in the UK, if you look at Gongcha, the Gongcha England, it's called, right? Okay. So the Gongcha England app.
Awesome bubble tea, by the way.
If you open that up and you can have like the app and you can earn points and all that sort of thing. They use a punch card concept, right? So you can actually just click a button in the app and it'll, or even off their website, and it'll push it into your wallet.
Nice.
And in the wallet, you'll have a punch card. Yeah. And they can choose like the little graphics stuff. It's quite cool, right? Now, here's the cool part. Like, here's the one that makes your brain go, ooh, what can I do with this? Once you've got it in the wallet, right? I have yet to see the typical 20-something that has figured out or bothered to turn off geolocation for the wallet.
You're right, 100%.
So what happens?
Push notifications as well, right?
So today, what our customers are doing is, as I'm walking along, my app will just pop up and go, "You're near a Gongcha," and you're like, "Oh, that's cool." Now today, it doesn't do much else other than saying you're near a Gongcha, which could be annoying or whatever, right? But I think in the next while, what we'll figure out is, okay, well, what do I need to do now? Like, how do I maybe pop an offer up? Or what do I,
push it.
How do I get a little more clever about that?
We have come to the end, which is fantastic, and we could probably talk forever.
I'll come back.
Yeah, we'll have to do.
We'll have new topics.
Yeah, I'll do some different topics next time. So the last thing at the end of the show is to ask, and I'm not telling you who the next person is because Chris was like, I know who the next person is.
Yes.
Was 2 questions to give to the next person.
I've got them. I'm ready.
Amazing.
2 questions for the next person. I don't know. So all I know is they're hospital based, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the only part of it.
They might not be operator though. They might be tech. Who
Doesn't
knows?
matter.
Yeah.
Okay, my first one is large and esoteric. It's what are your thoughts around service levels in the UK, and how does that compare with other places you've been? Right? Because my view is coming from outside. So even somebody who's been like on holiday, whatever they've done.
Yeah.
So that's one. My other one, much more specific, right? And it involves this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this behind.
Show it to the camera.
Can you see this on the camera?
No, but we'll go up closer so you can see.
Okay. So I've brought a Tim Tam. Now, if you've been to Australia or actually any
Or
British
any event of
supermarket,
yours.
any of our events, yes. So Tim Tams are a very Aussie biscuit, which I'm told are very similar to penguins, which...
Sorry,
funny enough,
ASMR.
I've never had a penguin, weirdly. Yeah, it is. I've never had a penguin, but I'm told by...
I'll buy you some next time.
Literally, that would be good, just to disappoint me, because I'm told by every Brit who's ever had a Tim Tam, quite literally, has said, "Oh, these are way better than penguins." So my question is, would you rank this Tim Tam better than a penguin?
I can answer that now.
So I'm going to
yes.
I'm leaving that for the next person.
Yeah, let's go I'll put it in the fridge as well. Don't worry, so it'll be nice and cool. But I can say to you because I grew up eating penguins.
Yes,
This is definitely better.
it's good, isn't it?
Really good.
They're actually all made out of a single factory in Australia, and there's always that controversy. You know, when somebody wants to make a bigger factory or move it, everybody goes, "Oh my God, don't!" Yeah. So there are. So in Australia, we would have maybe 15 varieties of Tim Tams.
Oh.
And then, so there's everything from double chocolate to dark chocolate to caramel to
Matcha.
sure. They actually just rotate flavors. Anyway,
Because there's a
very
story
good.
about matcha in Kit Kat coming into China, and they
Yeah, there is matcha Kit Kat.
and the reason why they thought, how do we get Kit Kat into China? Because they asked market research,
Yeah.
and they all went, what the frickin' next a Kit Kat?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were like, how do we do it? So they're like, right, let's put matcha in. Let's do a matcha Kit Kat. And
Yeah,
it
they're
went-
green.
And now they for the gifts and stuff for the holidays, they come to people's houses with the green Kit Kats. It's amazing. Anyway,
Good
I
adaptation.
appreciate it, LP from RedCat. You get a round of applause. We struggled, we got through, and thank you very much for coming.
Anytime.
It was really interesting. And episode 2, and thank you. Say goodbye.